This is the Resilient Advisor Show with Jay Coulter.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Resilient Advisor. My name is Jay Coulter, and joining me for this episode of the Blockchain Monthly is my regular guest, Dan Weiskopf, Portfolio Manager at Toroso Investments. Dan, thanks for coming back on yet again.
Thanks, Jay. Glad to be here.
All right. Happy New Year. I really enjoyed doing these monthly blockchain interviews last year because I got to learn a lot. And as I've gotten a better handle on crypto, digital assets, and its place in an advisor's book of business, the question sets have changed. So something that keeps coming up on my radar is this idea of a crypto winter. Could you explain to advisors what they need to know about a crypto winter?
Yeah, a crypto winter is another way of saying a bear market. Believe it or not, the price of crypto can go down and stay down, right? We don't expect that to happen in 2022 or in 2023. But wait, nobody forecasts a bear market. So could it happen? It could. But I think the supply demand trends right now favor that we're still going to be in a bull market in 2022. Now, one other thing I would say, just clarification purposes, because we are an active fund, right? So our focus could be more of the blockchain area, right? It doesn't have to be crypto, even though we have a correlation to that.
So when they talk about the crypto winter, it seemed to me that there are some underlying challenges that could help drive that, things that are technical in nature. Is there anything coming up on the horizon that could drive a crypto winter outside of supply and demand?
Well, the fork in a couple of years could drive that, right? But no, I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to create it. But again, when the market goes down 20% over the weekend, don't come and shoot me because I think the supply-demand characteristics would drive it back up.
Excellent. So Dan, for folks new to crypto, stumbling across this video, could you explain to them what the fork is?
Well, it's effectively like a stock split, but in what it ends up leading to is with the mining area, which we are heavily invested in, right? There has to be more power and more energy to create that algorithm, right? That mines that Bitcoin as an example. But the reason why that wouldn't necessarily create a winter, as you're talking about, is because there's going to be fewer Bitcoin produced during that period of time. That's, again, that supply-demand equation. Fewer supply, demand stays strong. We think that the trend will be your friend still.
Yeah, Dan, that makes perfect sense. Another issue that keeps coming up is regulation. Now, we could talk about the regulation of an ETF or talk about regulation of crypto itself. As a portfolio manager of the largest ETF in the space, BLOK, what do you look out for as it relates to regulation?
Yeah, I think regulations are going to be critical in 2022. It's hard for a lot of these companies to navigate the regulations when they're not clear, right? And that regulation has an effect on accounting, it has an effect on pricing, and it has, frankly, effect on liquidity as well. So I think that it's important that smart regulation comes about in 2022, and we think that it will, come about, but who knows?
Smart regulation. I love it. Are we making a smart video right now?
No, but remember, structure matters.
Awesome. All right. If you are new to Dan Weiskopf and his work, please visit theblockchaininterviews.com. That is theblockchaininterviews.com. And you can see a series of interviews with industry thought leaders in the blockchain space, from Michael Saylors to a whole host of folks that you'd recognize. And Dan goes through a deep dive interview, usually 30 to 45 minutes long. And Dan, at the end of each one of those interviews, you ask your guest which industries you think will be the most disrupted over the next 3 to 5 years. I want to turn that question on you. Which industries do you think will be the most disrupted?
Okay, so I had a great conversation this morning with somebody who I'm going to be interviewing that is very focused on the metaverse. And I think it's very evident that advertising is going to be really disrupted. I think about it, right? In the context of the metaverse, which for those who don't really understand it, it's very simple, right? It's the virtual reality. It's where the younger people are going, right? And it's all about billboards, right? It maybe people may be talking about real estate, but it's that tower with a massive advertisement, right, on it. And so I think that industry is definitely going to be affected, which is another way of saying where do people go to be advertised to? And the younger generation is going to the metaverse.
Wow. So for Christmas, I got my kids one of the Oculus units from Facebook. And as somebody who is a skeptic, I'm still a skeptic of NFTs.
That's
But
fine.
as a skeptic of the metaverse, I put that thing on my head and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I completely got it. I could see the applications. If you have not put on a virtual reality headset in the last couple of years, it will change your perspective of what's coming in the future. Dan, what are your thoughts on how the metaverse will roll out over the next couple of years, its adoption and applications for industry?
Well, why don't you throw a lot of questions at me all at once, right? First of all, the great part about the metaverse is capital is flowing that way. So there's going to be massive innovation. I think that young people, of course, want it, but the interesting part is a lot of those young people who are programmers are excited to have their lifestyle in their own control. So they rather work for themselves, as in like a gig economy kind of scenario, right? Than for maybe Facebook or Google, right? So when I think about the metaverse, I think it's really open-ended, and it's going to be massive adoption. And it's also going back to your other question, the sports industry is going to be changed too, as well, because you brought up NFTs, and you can see a lot of situations. Tom Brady, let me print some money and I'll create an NFT, and here's $3 or $4 million. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yep. Well, I tell you, the application that I instantly saw when I put the headset on, was playing around with it a little bit. Tourism. Like some smart enterprising person could go create a tour of Paris, and I would not have to leave my living room, and it would feel very, very real.
And that might encourage you to go to Paris when conditions change, right?
Yes. All right. You know what? We'll do a whole show on the metaverse when I can get a little more versed on it and its applications, because I do see that being a big, big, big issue, or a big, big opportunity, I should say.
It's a big opportunity in BLOK.
Yeah. So let's shift to BLOK. So over the past month, you guys had a couple of additions to the portfolio. Want to get your thoughts on why they were added. So Signature Bank and Customers Bancorp were added. What's the thesis there?
Well, it goes back to our investment a couple of years back to Silvergate, right? Where that bank changed their dynamics in how they were attracting deposits. Both these companies are basic banks, right? And it happens to be that Toroso banks at Customers Bank. So we actually have some experience with the bank as well. And at the end of the day, banks benefit by deposits and the cost of those deposits, right? And what we see is the blockchain affecting that in how they're attracting deposits. And a lot of that's just simply, opening the door to crypto money, not as owners of crypto, but through investors who have had success with crypto.
So I want to share a story, and I was saving this for this particular interview. Yesterday, I needed to open up a new bank account for the newly launched Financial Advisor TV. And I went to a local community bank and I spent 90 minutes standing on my feet trying to open the account. Now, Dan, I'm a very organized person. I showed up with all the legal documents for the opening, all the identification. There was nothing that they had to go find. And I stood there after about 90 minutes and I signed, I don't know, 7, 8 pieces of paper with a wet signature. And walking out of that bank, I thought, this business is going to die. I could have done this with an online bank in virtually no time at all. Isn't it amazing?
Sad, but yeah, it's going to change. There's no question that the banking industry is going to change. And you recall that I did an interview with Mike Cagney about the mortgage industry and how that's going to change. So yeah, there's no question about financial services changing as a result of blockchain in the future. But that was just too obvious as an answer.
Right? I mean, yeah. It's just amazing. Listen, Dan, I appreciate you coming on and doing this series monthly. Viewers, please check out BLOKETF.com. That's BLOK ETF.com to learn about the Amplify ETF's transformational data ETF that Dan is a co-portfolio manager on. To learn more about the interview series that he does, visit theblockchaininterviews.com. That is theblockchaininterviews.com. Dan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jay. Always a pleasure.